Hi, I'm the Nostalgia Chick. I remember it because the Nostalgia Critic doesn't want to. You know, when you were a kid, lots of TV shows, movies, and toys all seemed so cool at the time. If you were anything like me, you got up every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and sat there for 5 hours taking in cartoons. When you heard about one of your favorite Saturday morning cartoon shows getting its own movie, you begged your parents to drive you down to the theater. And when the Burger King Kids Club released a crappy line of toys made in China about the movie based on the cartoon, you begged your parents to buy you enough Kids Club meals to collect the whole set. Back then, it was pretty super cool, right? Yeah, well, you're looking at the world with rose-tinted nostalgia. The cartoon logic doesn't work now that you've grown. The movies are just commercials that last an hour and a half, and the kids' meal toys at fast food restaurants fall apart and don't do what they've promised. That being said, I wanted to bring up an animated movie from my childhood that I adored at the time, and to be fair, it isn't exactly a horrible movie, but it definitely has those moments where you look back and say, why didn't I question it when I watched it the first time? So, for a taste of something truly chick-like and truly nostalgic, I present to you The Last Unicorn. The Last Unicorn was an animated title released in 1982 that was based on a novel written by Peter S. Beagle, and was a very interesting creation because it was a combined effort between Japanese and American developers, and if you know what you're looking for, this fact becomes pretty obvious. The cast has a few big names in it, including Alan Arkin, Jeff Bridges, Mia Farrow, and Angela Lansbury. We start in a gorgeous forest where two unimportant hunters wander around and determine that the only reason why the forest is so green and healthy is because there is a unicorn somewhere in this forest and that she must be the last one in all existence. If that's the case, and she's the only reason why the forest is so green, the rest of the world must look pretty crappy by now. This sets the stage for the movie right off the bat and leads us into the intro with a rousing musical piece performed by the band America. Can't think of anything else these guys have done? Well, neither can I! So, Unicorn has a deep inner monologue about how she's a lonely old hag, and suddenly a butterfly shows up, apparently with the intent to completely confuse his audience.
I am a roving gambler. Red Rover, let Charlie come over. Well, you're a fishmonger.
Somehow, amazingly, Unicorn manages to get some information about her missing companions from our flying Broadway stage actor. You know, this part might take a while, so I'm just gonna grab a quick drink and sit back and...
They passed down all the roads long ago, and the Red Bull ran close behind them and covered their footprints.
The Red Bull? What is the Red Bull?
His firstling bull has majesty, and his horns are the horns of a wild ox. With them he shall push the unicorns, all of them, to the ends of the earth.
Well, anyway, just as soon as you might think the butterfly had a stroke of genius, we quickly discover that he has the attention span of a goldfish, and he flies off, proving himself to be completely unhelpful at all whatsoever, and further fueling my boiling hatred for nature's creatures. So Unicorn leaves her forest, and after a long montage of her just walking, she ends up sleeping under a tree where she is discovered by one of the ugliest characters in the history of animation, named Mommy Fortuna. Thinking that no one else can see that she's a real unicorn, she adds a fake horn to her head and adds her into her freak roadshow. You know, I'm sorry, but I just cannot get over how horrendous Mommy Fortuna is. I mean, she's so old, she makes Skeletor look like fresh meat. Now, Fortuna's side freaks are all kind of creepy looking and have lots of supposed supernatural abilities, but there's one particular one that I'm especially jealous of.
Speaks 17 languages readily and is subject to gout.
Hey, I'd almost gladly take a battle with an excruciatingly painful disease like gout if I could balance it out with the pride of knowing I understood 17 different languages, wouldn't you? Okay, maybe that's just me. Okay, so it turns out that one person other than Haggy Fortuna can see Miss Uni's horn, and that person is none other than...
Schmendrick, the magician.
He helps us understand that pretty much all of Fortuna's little magical pets are none other than helpless wild animals that desperately need rescuing from the combined efforts of PETA and the Humane Society. Well, all except for one, and I gotta tell you, this creature is foul. When I was a kid, I literally had nightmares about this creature. Introducing the Harpy. This bitch is ugly and she possesses not one, not two, but 3 boobs. 3 of them! 3 huge, saggy, and uncensored, human-formed boobs. Can you believe this movie managed to get away with a G rating? Eventually, Schmendrick tries every one of his magic tricks to free the unicorn from her cage until finally...
My dear, you deserve the services of a great wizard, but I'm afraid you'll have to be glad of the aid of a second-rate pickpocket.
You mean after all that time, you had the keys on you? The whole time? Talk about a massively dangerous waste of time! Unicorn should have turned him into Swiss cheese based on this event alone! Fortuna's other henchman catches Schmendrick in the act, and the two play outdoor roughhouse while Unicorn sets free every caged animal in the show. Look at these ungrateful guys, they don't even stick around to help after they've been released! And then Unicorn gets to the Harpy.
We are sisters, you and I.
Really? Because you sound more like a man on the verge of throat cancer. So the Harpy gets pissed and uses her 3 boobs to knock out Fortuna and her fellow Carney. Schmendrick and Unicorn manage to make their escape and continue on their journey to find the Red Bull, whom apparently, as Schmendrick tells us, is owned by a man named King Haggard. Well, somewhere along the way to King Haggard's kingdom, Schmendrick manages to get himself captured Princess Zelda style by some outlaws and drag him back to their campground. All that he has to do is announce that...
I am Schmendrick the Magician!
And suddenly...
You are welcome here, sorcerer. Have a taco.
Did he just say, have a taco?
Have a taco.
Oh my god, he did! Is King Haggard's kingdom located somewhere along the border of Mexico or something? Have a taco? Well, if they're just handing out tacos, then I want one too! Schmendrick suddenly becomes all kinds of awesome and calls out holograms of the entire cast of Robin Hood, fooling all of the members of the outlaw gang, except for the captain and his sidekick, who take him to a tree and tie him up. And if you thought Harvey McThreeboobs was weird, check out what happens when Schmendrick tries to use magic to escape from this tree.
I love you. Love, 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 love.
Oh God, I'm engaged to a Douglas fir.
And when Unicorn shows up, it's a battle of talking tree against mythical horse for the loving attention of a bumbling idiot.
She shall never have you.
Well anyway, Unicorn frees Schmendrick and they escape toward the road only to meet up with MarzGurl, a member of the Outlaws who decides to invite herself along on their journey, which Schmendrick desperately disagrees with.
And be wary of rousing a wizard's wrath! Rousing a wizard's...
Good argument, I'm convinced. Discovering that Schmendrick has a unicorn, Molly throws a bit of a bipolar temper tantrum.
Damn you! Where have you been? I forgive you.
Right, like a unicorn needs forgiveness from the likes of you. So they travel and just about get up to Haggard's castle and, surprise, out comes the Red Bull to push Unicorn down the road.
Have magic. Maybe you can't find it, but it's there.
So Molly begs Schmendrick to change the unicorn's form to hide her from the Red Bull, and so the unicorn ends up becoming a human girl with long strategically placed hair.
What have you done?
Talk about ungrateful, Molly was the one who suggested the idea.
I'm a unicorn. I'm a unicorn.
Of course you are, and I have blue hair. So the three continue on toward Haggard's castle, and my god, what a castle! This thing is built so precariously, on the edge of a cliff, over a rocky coastal edge. What the hell was he thinking when he built this?
When I started here, all there was swamp. Well, the king said it was daft to build a castle on a swamp, but I built it all the same, just to show him. It sank into the swamp. So, I built a second one. That sank into the swamp. So I built a third one. That burned down, fell over, then sank into the swamp. But the fourth one stayed up.
So they get up to the doors of the castle and introduce themselves.
I am Schmendrick, the magician. This is MarzGurl, my helper, and this is the Lady Amalthea.
That's quick thinking, Schmendrick. I like that about you. So the group is led up to the top of the castle, where Schmendrick is finally properly introduced to the king and his son.
This is Prince Lear, my son.
Hi, glad to meet you.
Oh, at least one of you is pleasant. So Schmendrick decides that the best way to get in good with the king is to be his servant. The king fires his old magicians to replace him with Schmendrick.
I'll write you a reference.
A reference? What the hell does a magician need with a reference? Is there some kind of magician's office for unemployment in Haggard's country? I can't imagine it would be that difficult for a magician to find a job. Haggard starts freaking out at Lady Amalthea because Schmendrick has obviously not thought far enough ahead to give the most important person in their party a backstory.
Who is she?
Father, what difference does it make? She's here.
You are right.
Oh, I love that logic. Now that she's here, guess I can't do anything about it. I'm just gonna have to put up with her and her stinky, soft-skinned presence. Poop. So our team has been given temporary permission to stay in Haggard's castle, the whole while Prince Lear tries to win Lady Unicorn's affection, mostly by going out of his way to kill a dragon and bring back its glittering flesh. What the hell? I mean, the dragon wasn't even threatening anybody, and Prince Jerk goes out of his way to find an innocent dragon and slaughter it in hopes that its hideous skin would win the heart of a woman who won't even talk to him? Man, talk about dense.
And I was sorry I had killed the thing. Sorry for killing a dragon.
Prince Lear whines to Molly, and Molly whines to Amalthea, who sadly is starting to lose memory of the reason why she's even there. Another song starts up and we find ourselves being serenaded by a unicorn on 2 legs.
Now that I'm a woman, everything is strange.
Now that disaster is over, we finally get to the coolest character in the movie, a pirate cat. Seriously, are you going to argue that this cat is not the coolest character in the movie, if not the coolest cat that ever existed? He's got an eye patch, a peg leg, and even speaks with a high seas accent.
So that be a unicorn.
Hey, I wonder if I can get my cat to speak like a pirate too. No, Siren, try again. Watch this.
Purr, purr.
Now you. Look, Cat, you got one more chance to prove yourself awesome like Pirate Cat. Now listen to this clip.
You're vast.
And now you say it. That's it. No cat of mine is not going to be able to speak like a pirate. Anyway, the cat gives Molly some riddled clues on how to find where King Haggard keeps the Red Bull hidden, and while Molly and Schmendrick search for the answers to the clues, Prince Lear spends his time writing poetry that he can't even remember.
Cross? Boss? Moss? Damn!
Guess what, kids? Another musical number, this time a duet! Oh, and get this, Lear writes exactly what he needs to tell her, and then... no, look what you did! Well, by the end of the song, somehow the two of them actually managed to kiss while singing. You'd think if I learned how to do that I'd be more of a hit with the men. After this, the king approaches Amalthea when she's alone to try and threaten her because he's figured out she's a unicorn and wants to add her as the last to his collection, drowning in the sea. But Amalthea's already forgotten everything, and it's apparently only been, like, 3 days. But more than Haggard's threats of throwing Amalthea into the ocean with the other unicorns, one other statement further proves just how much of an ass this man truly is.
Lear? He's none of mine. I picked him up on a doorstep where some peasant had left him.
Holy hell! This guy is wicked! He stole a baby! He stole a freaking baby! And then he admits that he got bored with it! You know what? I think I like this guy.
Do not mock me.
So, we begin to reach the climax of the movie. Our trio of heroes gets a laughing skeleton drunk on invisible wine and walks through a broken grandfather clock, which Haggard traps them in to reach the lair of the Red Bull. Good to see you're all following along so well. Prince Lear manages to meet up with the party, making it an awkward quartet trying to face off against a giant mythical flaming bull. Well, good thing they all decided to keep on moving at last, because at the last minute, that's precisely the time when the Red Bull decides to show up and ruin the fun. Okay, this scene proves that the Japanese had some creative input because when Amalthea starts running away, she actually does the stereotypical helpless girl trip and fall routine. followed by Schmendrick changing her back into a unicorn in a transformation sequence that can only be described as Sailor Moon-esque. The Red Bull nearly gets Unicorn into the sea when Lear demands that Schmendrick do something else.
Do something! You have the power!
God, you know, everyone's giving Schmendrick all kinds of tough crap. I mean, after all, he's really the only one that does anything in this movie, but still everyone always asks for more.
Do something!
Do something!
So since Schmendrick denies Lear's request, Lear jumps out in front of the dashing bull and hopes that he'll protect the unicorn, but instead gets himself killed. So finally Unicorn gets pissed enough to fight the bull, pushing him into the ocean instead and releasing a fury of unicorns onto the castle, causing it too to tumble into the ocean. Unicorn comes back, brings Lear back to life, and runs away never to see him again. Everybody says their goodbyes, and Unicorn begrudgingly goes back to her forest, now sad that she has learned how to love and feel sorrow and regret. Well, if I don't feel like crap, this movie is aimed at kids? What kid is gonna get this? This is all way over any kid's head. Mature for a G-rated animated feature? Hell, I should say so. What with the abundance of swearing and breasts and the ending that's only happy if you realize that the other unicorns have all been set free, this is about the emptiest I've ever felt at the end of a movie. I mean, Unicorn doesn't even get to talk to the other unicorns. Just like those other animals at Mommy Fortuna's carnival, they just take off the second they're released without a single nod of gratitude. And now that she's the only unicorn that has ever known how to regret, she's gotta be even more lonely now than she was an hour and a half ago when this movie started. This ending blows harder than I imagined it could have, not because it was written poorly, but that now I feel like absolute crap for our leading character. Last Unicorn, I am shelving you for another 20 years. I'm the nostalgia chick. I remember it because the nostalgia critic doesn't want to. What do you think of the jumpsuit? A little too April O'Neil?